I'm going to take 2 minutes and go through some copywriting mindsets. So sound is vanishing again. Hopefully I'm back. I don't have my headphones in because the ones I have don't have a microphone on them, so it wouldn't have made any difference anyway. All right. So as far as copywriting mindsets goes, if you guys want to stick with me for another couple of minutes here, I'm going to go through a couple things that play into how you write to your audience. So first of all, copywriting mindset number one. First of all, I'm going to say these are not mine. I totally and absolutely took these out of a course with Evan Pagan, who sold like hundreds of millions of dollars worth of stuff. And little factoid here for you, he was the first person I ever bought a product from. And I bought it from him when I think I was like 13. And it was a dating program. I absolutely 100% will be willing to admit to you guys that I bought a dating program from Evan Pagan when I was 13. That was my first intro into the info marketing world. He had fantastic copy at the time. And I actually came back to him later to study copy from him because he'd worked his magic on me when I was a young lad. Bought that dating program. It's a great dating program. Had some really interesting concepts in there. I didn't understand women at all when I was 13. I still don't, but I got a little bit further along thanks to Evan's help. Maybe I'm admitting more than I should, but these are tactics that I took from him. So, and they've served me well. They continue to serve me well, and hopefully they'll serve you guys well as well. No pun intended there. As far as what they are, first, copywriting mindset number one: products are bought, not sold. Most of us assume that now that we've got a business, our job is to go and push products on people. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we are educating our client, our consumer, on we're educating our client, our consumer, on the option that we have for them, on what it is we've got, and we're educating them on why that might be the best option for them. And it's not going to be the best option for everybody out there, but for a good chunk of our market, it will be the best option for them at the time. And so we are just convincing them that it's a good buying decision for them. We're not trying to push anything on them. We're not selling. We're just helping them buy. Mindset number two: marketing is selling on a mass scale. What this means is when we're selling to somebody that comes into a shop, if we have a shop, or if we're going to a person and we sell one-on-one, that conversation that we're having with that individual one-on-one, all marketing is taking that conversation and just pushing it out to more individuals. That's really all marketing is. We don't want to be talking to a large group of people. We want to be talking to people one-on-one. And the prospect on there, and they want to know that we understand them on their level, on a personal level. So all marketing is taking that personal conversation that we have with our clients every day. We take that personal conversation and we just put it into mediums that get put out to thousands of eyeballs potentially, or at least hundreds of eyeballs, or sometimes hundreds of thousands of eyeballs. That's really all that marketing is just taking single selling conversations and putting it out on a mass scale. Marketing mindset number three: copywriting is the key element to marketing in print, audio, and video. Copywriting is so important, guys, which is amazing because I didn't learn about copywriting until like a little bit. Well, I didn't learn about it at all in university, which is crazy. But university, they don't teach you how to create marketing. In university, they only teach you how to push marketing on other people. They don't really teach you how to create it. When I learned about copywriting, when I learned how important it was, I understood that skill was a skill that I would have to learn if I wanted to ever make any leeway in my sales, in my business. And I'm going to say the same thing for you. If I had to pick one element, I'm absolutely being honest with you guys here. If I had to pick one element that is the key element to study in your marketing, if you could only pick one thing, I'd say copywriting is the thing that you could spend your time on. And the reason for that is that you just get better and better and better at finding out what people are thinking and making sure that you are helping them with their decisions in a way that is going to serve them well. You want, when you have great copywriting, what you're doing is you're creating a win for the client as well as a win for the customer. You don't want copywriting. Bad copywriting is when you've got things like buyer's remorse. Good copywriting is when you've convinced them that this is something that is good for them and they're happy with the product and they want to keep it or stick with it. Number 4, words are powerful weapons. So interesting story here. What I mean by this is that you can consider a word to be a weapon in the same sense that you would treat an actual weapon. And what I mean by that is let's say that you're handed a really sharp sword, but you've never had any training with a sharp sword. Is there potential for you to cut yourself? Yeah. Is that potential much greater if you've never had any training with it? Yeah, the potential is definitely greater than if you've spent years training with a sword and you know exactly like where to put it and what to do with it and how to use it. Words can be the same. And what I mean by that is sometimes your copywriting will actually be to your detriment. What I mean by that is sometimes you'll write an ad and it'll actually have people detracted from you. People will be pushed away because of the things you write. And like, for example, David Ogilvy is a well-known advertiser, owned one of the largest advertising firms in the world, Ogilvy Advertising, I think. And he worked with Ford Motor Company. And back in the day, Ford Motor Company, they had put ads into Reader's Digest magazines. And what they did is they split test it, which means that they put their ads into every other magazine. So some magazines had the ads and some didn't. Then what Ogilvy and advertisers did is they surveyed the readers of those digests, and they knew exactly whether the reader had seen the ads of Fords or they hadn't. And what they found out was really interesting. What they found out was that the people that had read the Ford ads actually were less likely to buy a Ford because the advertising agency that had put the ad together, there was something negative in the copy where people were pushed away from buying a Ford. So what I mean by this is, don't assume just because you put words on a page and you put it in front of people that your chances of bringing people in the door are increased. Sometimes you're actually shooting yourself in the foot. So we want to make sure that we're following processes and systems that work, which is one of the other mindsets here. We'll get to that in a second. Mindset number 5, use the highest impact words and phrases possible. And what I mean by this is when you're using words and phrases, we want to look at, are these words and phrases that trigger emotion? We actually want to make sure that we feel something when we read them. And this is not easy. I'm not telling you guys it's easy, but I'm saying that if you put a headline out there or an ad or an article, does it trigger emotion? And we're guilty of this as well. I'm not going to claim that every headline I've ever written triggers emotion, but we're constantly practicing it. We're trying to get better at it. When you write a headline or when you write an ad, are you pulling emotion to it? Are people feeling something because of it? If they are, that's when you are getting into good copywriting. That's ultimately what part of your copywriting is trying to do, is trying to elicit emotion, because people, they make buying decisions based on emotion. You can back it up with logic, but primarily they make buying decisions based on emotion. Mindset number 6, use proven copywriting formulas and techniques before you get creative. So this goes back to the weapons thing. Make sure that you understand what has worked in the past, get good at that, and then you can get creative with your words. This is another way of saying you have to know the rules in order to break them. You don't want to go out there and just start writing whatever kind of makes sense to you and say, you know what, screw it. Like, those guys that have done it, they don't know what they're talking about. I can do this much better. I've seen a lot of business owners do that, and they have always fallen on their faces. They always make assumptions that, you know, this is ridiculous. Like, this, the way that this is written, people would never buy into this. Usually they think that you're insulting people's intelligence, because often copywriting can be written at a very basic level. You know what? It's written in a way that works. So what I'd say is before you think you can go out and change the wheel, first learn how it rolls. I don't know if that's a saying. I totally just made that up. So use copywriting that is proven first. Find other people that have put ads out there that work. Use the headlines, the titles, and things that have worked. Play on that. Once you find out what works for yourself, then you can go and you can start to get creative with it. Mindset number 7, market for action or response. When we're writing, sometimes we fall into the position where we think, you know what, there's a lot of big corporations out there and they create ads and they're funny ads, so I should do the same thing. Corporations have the advantage of being in a position where all they need to do is continue to get exposure. They spend millions, if not billions of dollars just on getting exposure, on maintaining exposure. Most of you are not at a level where you're just trying to maintain exposure, nor do you have the budgets to maintain exposure on a large level. So what we're doing as small business owners is we're creating ads, we're creating marketing on our homepages, whatever it is, that will get action or response. We actually want to prompt the reader to do something, and do that something like right now. That's all we're trying to do with our copywriting. Anything that you guys write ever has to be marketed for action and response. Next, mindset number 8. This is really important. Write copy the way you talk. Most of us have been programmed to write in a way that's academic, and that's not your fault. You went to school, you went through elementary school, high school. Some of the worst copywriters are the ones that went to post-secondary education. And the reason for that is because they learned how to write academic papers on a higher level. And academic papers, they're great for facts, super boring to read. They do not elicit emotion. That's not how you sell. So when you sell, you have to reteach yourself to write the way you talk. Use incorrect grammar. Start sentences with and. Make up words. And then when you're writing, don't write paragraphs. Write sentence by sentence, because that is closer to the way that we're actually talking. Highlight things that you would normally highlight in your speech. Use quotations. Use ellipsis points. Use whatever it makes sense the way that you're talking. Use that in the way that you write. And it's going to be very different than just writing factual paragraphs as you would if you were an academic. Next, build relationship with copy. So I did say we're not here to create an entertainment piece. However, that being said, you want your audience to connect with you. And so it is smart still to tell stories in copy and tell stories that are relatable, or create relatable moments in your copywriting. So what I mean by relatable moments is something along the lines of, it's like. If you use the words it's like, you're creating something that's relatable for the audience. So as an example of that, you could say, you know, I took this energy drink the other day, and it's like having a million lightning bolts going off in your body at the same time. It's something that you're using words that people already know, rather than saying, I took this energy drink and what it does is it opens up your cells and it encourages ketosis and your body starts burning. People, you're going to lose people. So use words that are relatable, and then tell stories that are relatable. Tell your own story. Often a great way to sell is to have people come to their own epiphanies by telling your epiphany story. So rather than telling them all the techno babble, all the techno speak about your product and what it does, start off with the moment that you were at when you first discovered the thing that you're selling. When you first had that epiphany moment and you said to yourself, wow, this is something that's a life changer. Bring them back to that moment and tell your story. And then that will help them come to their own epiphany rather than overwhelming them with words that are industry lingo. And then lastly, great copy takes knowledge and practice. You cannot become a good copywriter if you don't write copy. You can know everything there is to write copy, but you won't be a great copywriter until you've gone out and you've tested it on audiences. And ideally for each of you guys that are in your own businesses, you're testing it on your audience. So taking this information and then applying it, going and just testing your copy and finding out what works. That's the only way to actually get better at your copywriting, at writing something that your customers are going to be into. Okay, guys, I am 15 minutes over the call. the team's probably going to hate me because this hasn't kept within my hour limit, but I did want to make sure that I hit on the copywriting mindsets for you guys. So to end this, just looking at what's your focus for the week, I want you guys to set one goal for yourselves this week. Maybe it is to write a piece of copy and put it out there and test it and see if it works for you. Maybe that's at a sales page. Maybe that's on your home page. Maybe it's an opt-in. Maybe it's an ad on Facebook. It could be many different places. It could be just putting a flyer up, like in your community shop. That's probably not the first place I'd go, but it's an option. So take your copywriting, test it somewhere, and see if that works for you. If that's not your action for the week, create some other action for yourself. Make sure you're writing that down right now and scheduling it and and making it happen. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for the call. Thanks for those of you guys that stayed for overtime. And we'll see you guys next week. So it looks like a lot of you guys are... Vanessa says, thanks so much. Peter says, last 15 minutes was solid gold. So glad I stuck around to the end. Good. Glad, Peter, that you took something out of that. Gavin says, thanks, Eric. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. And I'll be ending this now. And then you guys can go and take this and put it into your businesses.